Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see, this time we are going to talk about fresh release from Infinity Models. So it's a company which is connected with the HPH Models, and it might be a familiar brand to you because it is focused on resin kits, but here we have slightly different thing because it's a full plastic, and you can see that it's even written here that plastic is by HPH, which is rather unusual, I would say, and of course it's made in Czech Republic. This is SB2C-4 Helldiver in 1/32 scale, and I would say it would be interesting to see what is actually copied here, why this kit should be interesting for all fans of US naval aviation. And of course we have a commercial sample. I bought it with your help, with your donations, and now we get a chance to check closer what is actually hidden in this nice box. So first of all, I have to note that box size is surprisingly not that big. Here you can see comparison with my hand, and box itself comes wrapped into the film so it won't be scratched or damaged, and manufacturer actually packages everything in a quite careful way, so as you can see there are no damages whatsoever. Next, on the side here we have also some information about the manufacturer. We have also skills requirements, so you can see it's a hard kit as it's written here. On the rear side there is just a cardboard, and here we have some information about the kit. So we have 319 parts, and wingspan will be 47.8 centimeters, length will be 35 centimeters. So I would say that's a relatively normal size for a 1/32 scale. Frankly speaking, I was expecting more, but here we have, I would say, a reasonable size for such kit. Now I'm going to tear apart this plastic wrap. So here you can see I'm cutting it or tearing it with my fingers. We are going to open this box because otherwise we won't be able to check it and see what is actually included inside. By the way, interesting thing is that this kit is not sold in model shops, at least here in Czech Republic I wasn't able to find it, so you can get it only on official HPH website. Okay, I'm taking away all this plastic, just to remind you, here it is. Okay, so this is a top opening box, and it's not that heavy, I have to say. Here's what we have inside. So straight away we are met with this plastic bag which is dedicated to assembly manual, decals sheet. We also have even seat belts from HGW. We have some PE thread, and plastic parts are here in the bottom. So obviously we are going to start with plastic parts, and then gradually we will move on to other components which we saw on the top. So I suggest we begin with this clear plastic frame. It is dedicated to canopy parts and also to some cockpit elements. So just give me a second to take it out of this plastic bag, and we will take a closer look together. So first of all, I have to note that the sprue itself is quite sturdy. It's really thick, I would say unusually thick, and you can see it with your own eyes. Maybe I can open the camera a bit. So canopy parts, they look really good, so we can zoom in even further so that you can check these parts. Maybe I will bring them on my hand so that you can see what I'm talking about. So here is one of the canopy parts. We have rivets pre-molded, so everything looks cool. Here is another canopy part. Again, rivets are present. And here we have some other canopy sections. We have also instrument panel, and here we have a windscreen which is also molded as a single piece part. I'm not sure if we have any masks or masking templates included here, so we will have to check it in the assembly manual, but at least plastic itself looks really good, so it's just a matter of careful assembly, and then you will have to, let's say, worry about masks. Now we go on with the first gray plastic sprue, and here we will have some interesting things, so just give me a second to open it. Frankly speaking, it's, I would say, quite surprising to see HPH going into the plastic kits and choosing to replicate the Helldiver. So here we have first gray plastic sprue. You can see we get fuselage parts. We also, well, it's actually one of the fuselage house. It is molded together with the tail fin and rudder. And frankly speaking, on such big kit, I would rather prefer to have this rudder as a separate one-piece part, or maybe just as a separate half of the rather, because it will give you a better, let's say, impression of this part. And of course, as for the external features, I can zoom in so that you can check all these rivets and recessed panel lines. They look really good. Attachment points are placed on the top side, as you can see, so you will have to be careful while separating this fuselage half. Quite an interesting wing root design, so we will have to see how it will be implemented once you join the wing. And here you can check the top wing half, which is molded together with aileron, but flaps are separate and front wing slats are separate. Let's flip it over, because inside here in the fuselage half we have all the internal structure copied and pre-molded. There are no guiding pins whatsoever, so it will be a bit tricky to combine them together, I mean fuselage halves. And the same is related to wing half, because we do not have any guiding pins there as well. So be ready for such surprise, but manufacturer wrote on the box that it's not an easy kit, so you should be ready for, let's say, absence of any guiding elements in this kit. Now I'm opening the next plastic bag. This one carries fuselage halves. Again, one of the fuselage half. As you can see, that's the left part. And again, we have pretty much the same level of attention to details. I can see that the surface is not as smooth as it could be, so it might be a wise idea to get so let's say thin layer of primer and then sand everything to get a smooth surface. As you can see, it still shines, but maybe it's some, let's say, washing or cleaning with the soap will solve it, because I'm not sure if we have here some medium on the parts. But other than that, I do not see any possible issue. Again, if you flip it over, inside you won't find any guiding elements, so be ready for this again. Next, we continue with a smaller gray plastic sprue. So this one is dedicated to the engine, and engine here is quite, I would say, impressive, and you will see in a second why. So here is the whole sprue, and you get all this stuff out of the box. You don't have to spend extra money, so that's really cool. And let's zoom in even more, maybe turn over the plastic sprue, and here you can see all these parts. Of course, it will require some due care while building all this stuff, and maybe careful painting as well. Note that inside, at least here, we have some guiding elements from what I can see. So it will be, well, no, I wonder what are these holes, because as you can see, so they are present on the opposite side, so that's why. So no guiding elements again, and that means you will have to be careful while joining all these cylinder blocks together, because they should be glued out of two halves, and maybe it would be a wise idea to think through if you would have these seams between halves visible. If not, you don't have to worry, you can just, let's say, glue them together with a liquid glue, with Tamiya one, and you have everything ready to be painted. Next, we continue with another gray plastic sprue. So parts count is, I would say, something what I was expecting from such big kit. So it's not surprising, but still you have to keep in mind that you will encounter a lot of different parts. So here, for example, we have another one, and note that engine cooling halves are molded here together with the cooling flaps in open position, so I guess you won't be able to vary them. And again, this is quite surprising for a 1/32 scale. I would rather prefer these cooling flaps as a separate parts. So here you can see them. Again, the external features are pretty much the same as what we saw on the fuselage. Here you can see the firewall where the engine will be installed. We also have front wing slats, separate propeller blades, and halves for the tail wing. And they are also molded together with elevators. So another, I would say, unusual thing for such large scale. And of course, inside we do not have any guiding elements. So be ready for that. Next, we continue with one more gray plastic sprue. So I'm going to open it right now. This one is more concerned with the internal features of this aircraft. So I will show it in a second. And here it is. Here we have Cockpit floor and various bulkheads which will be installed in the fuselage. As you can see, everything looks cool. We also have some pre-molded features. So if I zoom in as much as I can, here you can check them a bit closer. And as far as I remember, we also had some PE parts, but these PE parts will not be used for the cockpit, except of seat belts, of course. And here, by the way, you can see the instrument panel, pilot seat parts, also some other bulkheads, cockpit floor, and everything looks decent in my opinion. With some careful painting you will get a quite nice result, and in big scale to get all these features is really cool. Not that many kits even today, let's say, show such attention to small details, and on the next sprue you will actually see why I'm saying this. Because we have a lot of tiny bits here. And we also have plastic wheels which should be glued out of 2 halves. So considering the fact that HPH Models is a resin manufacturer, it would be cool to get the resin wheels, but we do not have them here. And I guess you have to check the official website, maybe they produce it as a separate accessory set. As you can see, these wheels, they should be okay for out of the box build, but I would rather suggest to invest a bit more and get some replacement resin which will be more detailed, and it will be a noticeable upgrade once you do so. So definitely consider such possibility. Note that here on the landing gear arms we have a small amount of flesh, nothing serious, it should be easy to clean, but still you will have to work with that. And other than that, I do not see any other issues. Molding quality on other parts is really good here. By the way, you can check these parts from the opposite side. So wheels have the raised edges which will be serving as a guiding elements. At least this will be handy during assembly process. Next we continue with separate flaps and some parts for wheel wells. So again, I need to open this plastic bag, and here it is. Let's zoom in straight away so that you can see what I'm talking about. So here are the flaps, and they look really cool. Again, that's the question if we also get an option of PE flaps. Here you can see some parts for the cockpit, machine gun barrels, and a lot of small parts for main wheel wells, which will be assembled out of these small pieces. If we flip it over, here you can check these flaps from the opposite side. They look fine in my opinion for 1/32 scale, but again, as I said before, it would be cool to get a PE option. Now I am opening the last plastic bag, and it's slightly different from what we saw on the previous plastic bags, because here it is opened like this, as you can see. So I need a time to get this flap open. It's a bit tricky thing to do because it tries to get closed again. Okay, it's done. So here are the wing parts. As you can see, we have 2 tail wing halves and 2 lower wing halves, and again they're molded together with ailerons. We also have the same external features as what we saw on the previous kits, on the previous parts. So we have recessed panel ends and rivets here as well. And if you flip it over, there are no guiding pins whatsoever. Frankly speaking, this is a bit surprising for me, because it would be cool to have at least some guiding elements which will help you with assembly of such large kit, but we do not have them here, so it will be a bit tricky for some modelers who are used to get some guiding elements helping them to assemble their model. And this is definitely not a beginner's delight, but with some due care you will get it in a nice result. Now, why I'm a bit, let's say, busy, because I'm trying to open this plastic bag with assembly manual, and there are also some bonuses inside, so just give me a second to open it. Okay, so decals, PE thread, and textile seat belts. They're all out, so we can remove this gray plastic sprue and proceed with textile seat belts from HGW. So here they are. They're really cool. And in 1/32 scale, in my opinion, this is a must-have upgrade because they will give you quite a natural look, and I worked with several sets from this brand, so really recommend them. That's cool to see them as a standard inclusion in this kit. Next, we continue with a small unpainted PE fret. This one, I'm not sure where it is made. I guess it was made by HPH themselves or maybe by somebody else. But here you can see that we have parts for seat belts. We also have some parts for machine gun. So everything cool. Even target sight is made out of PE, but you will have to get some parts for the cockpit in case you would like to have some fine features. From what I can see, we do have dials for instrument panel in the cockpit. Here you can see them on the decal sheet, and it's not written where these decals come from, but printing quality seems to be fine. I can zoom in even further so that you can see what is actually supplied here. Even stencils are here, and that's really important for such large scale kit. And next we continue with assembly manuals. So this one comes as a color printed brochure, so we can zoom out a bit, maybe close the camera so that it won't be visible. I mean, it won't be blinding you. And here on the first page we have really short introduction note, so there are some technical specifications, and that's pretty much all. We also have recommended accessories, so there are landing flaps, as I said before, bomb bay. Also we have figures, weapon set. Here I can see control surfaces and photo edge detail set, and also you can check the folded wings. By the way, folded wings, we will review them in the separate video, so here they are, and stay tuned, it will be published right after or before this video review. Here we continue with the parts map, and from what I can see, all the parts will be used, or manufacturer does not mark unused parts, so be careful in this case. Next we continue with assembly process, which starts with instrument panel and rudder pedals. Then we assemble pilot seat and seat belts. Here we assemble some parts for the cockpit, so rear bulkhead and cockpit floor. Next we continue with some elements for, I guess that's also cockpit, because here you can see a lot of stuff getting installed on both fuselage walls or cockpit walls. These are fuselage halves. And next we have to work on the engine parts. So here, as you remember, you have to combine a lot of parts together, so be ready for that. And next we join two fuselage halves together, we install cockpit in between. We also have this special spar which will be holding wing parts in place, and also firewall goes into the nose section. I wonder if it would be possible to open the engine. Well, actually no. As you can see, this cowling should be assembled out of two halves, so there is no option to position one of the cowling panels as a separate thing, and that's really strange to see in 1/32 scale. But what's really cool, that engine is still fully detailed, and I mean, you can do some scratch building if you would like to. Next we continue with a machine gun turret, which will be placed in the rear section. Here you can see assembly for the tail landing gear, pilot seat, and what is that? That's the landing gear wheel, of course. Next we continue with the propeller assembly. We also install this special seat. Oh, so it was machine gunner seat in the tail area. And next we work with a rester hook. We install some canopy parts. Also propeller goes into its place. And here we continue with marking options. So here we have first two marking options. They come in traditional navy blue, and that's pretty much all. So only two marking options. Here we have a stenciling guide for this aircraft, and on the last page we have a small teaser for kits which we can expect in the future. So as you can see, L13 Blanik, we even have the Z37 Chmelak in 1/32 scale. This is really surprising. And of course, Aichi D3A and DH100 vampire in 1/32 scale. This is really surprising. So as for today's kit, it should be already available. You can get it on official Infinity Models or HPH website. And of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion about such a release. Do not forget to write it here in the comment section below. If you like this video, do not forget to press the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye!